against Hassan Endam in 2012. He welcomed 28-year-old Quillin Truax into his gym. The two sparred for a week. By the end, Truax told Quillin he'd see him again one day when it mattered most. 7 years later, that day will come on April 13th.
I think we sparred 3 times. I think it was like 4 or 5 rounds each time. And it was when you was get ready to fight Hassan Endam, and that's when you won your first world title. And after sparring, I felt confident. And here we are 7 years later, and it's time to get to business on April 13th.
It's one thing I gotta ask you though. When you say you feel confident, what you feel confident about?
I just figured that we'd cross paths, and when we were sparring, I felt confident. You think you got
the better of me, you think?
I don't know if I got the better of you, but I would say that I just felt there was nothing in that session that made me think that I couldn't get the better of you.
Okay.
You know, I'm very happy and impressed that even for PBC on FS1 fights, you know, the daughter or son channel or, you know, child channel of regular Fox, their sport, well, it is the sports channel, but nonetheless, to see them doing PBC Countdown and PBC face-to-face for fights like Quillin versus Truax is really impressive to me. Like, they're really doing their best to promote these, you know, to the casual fans. Now, you know how it goes. You know, somebody's flicking through the channels. They say, what is this PBC Countdown? What is this? Oh, 2 fighters? They're fighting on what channel? Oh, on this channel? Oh, is this Saturday? Let me listen into this. You know, so even though, you know, these are 2 nice guys. You know, Peter Quillin used to get a bad rap, get booed a lot, you know, but he was never really like a shit talker. But, you know, his career, you know, has never really been the same since, you know, he gave up his belt, you know, to Matvey Korobov. And you remember Matvey Korobov from fighting back in December when hold on, damn it, I was looking for something.
And he had
oh, he was talking about when he knocked off his something off of his headgear. Anyway, these 2 sparred back in the day. I'm saying back in the day, but back in 2012. And something happened in sparring. We know how it goes. Sparring is sparring. You know, I can't really hold something that happened in sparring unless somebody get knocked out into what can possibly happen in the ring. You know, remember Sean Porter and Ugas were talking about on PBC Face-to-Face how they had that mysterious sparring session that they can't remember, some old bizarre weird shit. So, to get back to what I was saying, back in 2000 and when was that? It was between this fight in 2014, I believe it was June of 2014. Peter Quillin, after he had beat Lucas Konaki, he was supposed to fight Matvey Korobov, who had that very controversial loss to Jamal Charlo this past December, PBC on Fox. Right now, it is April the 9th, 2019, 11:33 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So, what I'm saying is this. He was ordered via mandatory to fight Matvey Korobov. Matvey Korobov at that time was on HBO on the Top Rank Fighter. The Cold War was really, really cold at that time. It was the coldest that it's ever been. Politics and boxing were rife and nasty. But he dropped his belt, went to try to fight Andy Lee to get his belt back after Andy Lee had knocked out Matvey Korobov, didn't make weight, and ended up being a draw against Andy Lee. Ever since then, he wasn't the same. Yeah, he damn near killed Michael Zafara, you know, when he came back, but then he met Danny Jacobs, got knocked out in the first round. And he was talking about how, like, he had to deal with, like, the mental stress of all of that, meaning the knockout. But how much mental stress did he deal with turning down a career-high payday? You know, and even though I'm sure Al Heyman compensated him for dropping that belt, but still he gave up his championship. And he was, and fans at that point in time were already on the fence with him. That just further pissed him off. And they just was like, we fucking done what you look. That's what you get getting knocked out. Because he tried to go fight for, he did go fight for Danny Jacobs' WBA world title, in which later led Danny Jacobs to Gennady Golovkin. But since then, that WBO championship, after he lost to Andy, after Andy Lee got it, Andy Lee went on to fight Billy Joe Saunders, and as you know how that went. So since then, Danny Jacobs, he's been on the building path, but guess what? That Danny Jacobs fight was in December of 2015. We are in 2019, April. You might as well say when he gets into the ring, it's going to be mid-April. remember, on that day, well, on this weekend, it's going to be very busy. You got Loma versus Krolla on Friday. You got this on PBC on FS1. On Showtime, you got Shields versus Hammer. And then on the Zone, you got Jaime Munguia versus Dennis Hogan. The fights that I'm looking forward to the most on Saturday, I'm talking about, is going to be Shields versus Hammer, this, and then Derevyanchenko versus Jack Culcay, which is on this undercard. By the way, the winner of this could very well will likely fight Caleb Plant. Will very well likely fight Caleb Plant. That's why content like this is important, you know, even if a lot of people don't watch it, is to keep the consistency of it, because now casuals are going to see this and not just see Peter Quillin fight on TV, you know, a former world champion, 2 former world champions in him and Caleb Truax, but now they're able to see and relate these fighters to somebody. Oh yeah, I remember I watched him a year ago. Oh, he fighting that champion kid, you know, who, you know, Caleb Plant. So it's a shame, but Peter Quillin ain't never been the same. This fight, he's got to shine. Let me break down the 168-pound division for you. Anthony Dirrell had got that controversial win over Avni Yildirim. Yildirim literally went and had like a barbecue at Quinceañera with the WBC president, Mauricio Suleiman, and now he's a WBC mandatory again. Of course, after David Benavidez fights Anthony Dirrell, because David Benavidez is kind of like the champion because he was elevated to a meritorious champion for not keeping his nose clean, as Caleb Plant said. But Anthony Dirrell has the belt. So they got to fight. Then the winner of that fight's Avni Yildirim. All right. Kellum Smith, he's fighting on the undercard of Joshua Miller against a lower-level opponent because they can't fight a suitable opponent for him. So Canelo, let's just say, whatever. Let's not even talk about that. And Caleb Plant, you know, he's been dealing with a lot of shit. But also, you know, he's getting married. His mom died. And, you know, he needed some time off. And expect for his next fight to likely be the winner of Peter Quillin versus Caleb Truax as a mandatory. Or will the winner of Quillin versus Caleb Truax be ordered to fight Vincent Feigenbutz? Gilberto Ramirez is fighting this weekend on the 12th against Tommy Karpinski at 135, and Billy Joe Saunders and Shafat Isafi are fighting for the WBO interim. So Quillin and Truax are very well in the mix at 168 pounds. In the mix. Also, David Lemieux is fighting at 168 pounds. He's supposed to be returning on the undercard of Canelo versus Jacobs to be announced soon. And I forgot who they say he's fighting, but he's going for a WBA title. Likely an interim or trying to get, you know, Canelo. You got Chris Eubank Jr., you know, but what is he, you know, going to do? He got his IBF belt back, though. And he could be getting Caleb Plant, or he could be getting, you know, one of these fighters, because he's now somewhat under that PBC umbrella, even if not officially. So I'm going to be covering the card. I'm hyped for it. Shit. Somebody's got to be, right? I'm TstreeT Controversy. This is TstreeT Controversy Live. Please subscribe.